Pet training, the bane of everyone's existence because it is simply RNG. So if it is RNG, what can we do to decrease our chances of getting screwed over by RNG? The best method is hatching with the same pet over and over again, meaning you're sticking to one person's pet and not hoeing around with 10 different other pets in the kiosk, even if they have the same talents that you are looking for. And then you also need to make spare copies of a pet in case the recent pet fails, so that you don't need to start all over again if you have a backup. It is a pretty long process though that requires a lot of snacks, but that is the only solution. So the question is, do you want to gamble your way to Mega, increasing your chances of failure, or take the more strategic approach to decrease your chances of failure but it could still fail because of RNG? Choose your poison. So just in case you don't know anything about Wizard101 or pet training, let's cover the basics. You should start breeding pets as early as you start questing, because once you equip a pet and quest with it, it trains itself for free. Also, you are put on a 12 or 24 hour hatching timer, so every day that you are not pet hatching, you are wasting that opportunity to get yourself a good pet. Also, every time that your wizard levels up, your energy refills, so you want to use that energy before you level up by either fishing for gold, or you use that energy to train your pet in the pet pavilion only up to adult. You don't want to be training your pet above adult, because when your pet learns a talent and it's something that you don't want, it becomes more difficult to remove it in the next hatch. Also, the older your pet is, the more expensive your pet hatches become for no reason. If your pet is already at adult, make sure to unequip it when you're questing, because you don't want to risk it getting up to ancient. And then if you're already on a pet hatching timer, so you need to wait like 12 or 24 hours till your next hatch, then any extra energy that you have, you should be using that to garden or fish to get you more gold and snacks to work towards your next pet hatch. In this video, you will see me skipping the games because my mega snacks that I get from gardening catch potatoes give more pet XP than actually playing the game itself, and you unlock the skip game feature after you have played 25 games. Now I will present you with two pet training methods. Method 1 is for those that are new to the game, where you barely have any gold or friends to lend their pet, and the second method is for those that do have someone to contact every single day and you also want their specific body appearance of their pet. So let's go through method 1. The pet talents that you want in the game when you are questing is a pet with Dealer, Pain Giver, Pain Bringer, Mighty, and either getting Boon or Giver at Mega. If you got Boon at any age before Mega, then your pet is considered quote-unquote a fail, because the other talents are difficult to get as a dual socket. And what a dual socket does is that you're socketing whatever talents that you didn't get, and it allows you to get your 6th talent of your choice. So if you didn't get Dealer, then you will socket Dealer, which is like 10 or 11 damage. But to socket the Dealer, you need to train your pet up to Ultra, which is after Mega. And things like Pain Giver and Pain Bringer and Mighty are the most difficult cancerous jewels to get, which is why you have to get them on your pet. So Mighty is the most difficult jewel to get because you can only craft it, and the crafting recipe is cancerous, so it is 100% necessary for you to manifest it as a pet talent. And what it does is that it increases all your damage talents up by 1 if your stat numbers are maxed out. So without Mighty, you'll get like 6% damage as a giver, but with Mighty you get 33% damage because that 6 giver turns into 7, blah 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 blah. When you manifest Mighty, you won't be able to see the talent though unless you inspect your pet. So make sure to like not accidentally trash your pet if you didn't see that it had something, because it actually did have something. So where can we easily find a pet with 4 damage talents and Mighty, to which we then socket our 6th talent with a dual socket? That is when these Quetzal pets come in handy, which can be found in the pet kiosk for a very cheap price. Basically, somebody has been contributing to the community where they have cleaned out the talent pools, where all the derby talents are all common and the main talents all have talents that are still beneficial for your wizard. So for example, your pet is still considered really good if it quote-unquote failed with Spellproof, which gives your character resist, or Armor Breaker, which gives your character pierce so that you can attack through the enemy's resist. Another thing about these pets is that its stats are maxed out with 255 strength, 250 intellect, 260 agility, blah blah blah, but considering we want mighty, it will have 320 strength because mighty increases the strength. So if you hover over the strength talent, it says that it increases blah 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 and damage, and increasing that damage means like it increases your like 6% giver to 7% giver. On the left, you can see that the stats are severely lacking in the numbers, so we need to bring it up by hatching over and over again with the Quetzal, which will take about 5 or 6 hatches to max the numbers out. Now, the beauty of these Quetzal pets is that the majority of them are all the same if the derby talents are all common. This means you don't need to find the exact pet you've hatched with each time because they are all the same pet. However, you do need to find an adult pet with mighty already manifested with either a pain bringer or pain giver talent, because as I said, those are the most difficult talents to get as a dual socket. Basically, the goal is that your stats are almost maxed out and the pet talents line up with every single dot at adult. Matching every single dot is going to take a long time, so that is why we're going to go through like 15 hatches until we actually get to that point. And if we're going to go through 15 hatches, then we don't want to be training above adult because then your hatches get more expensive for no reason. So yeah, by the time you get all the dots to match up, you probably have like 10 to 15 Quetzal pets at this point, and your stat numbers are essentially almost maxed out. For this example, my pet has a fiery giver talent, which I've said that we don't really want until mega, so I'm still going to hatch again until my new pet gets 2 of any of these talents. Once you do get the 2 talents, that will be considered the mother parent, so name your pet Miss Boomer or something like that in the dye shop. And then we still need the dad though, so then we need to hatch again and get the 2 talents from the list of whichever one. Then you can name that Sir Boomer for the dad, and now you have 2 parents. So with those 2 parents, you no longer need to hatch with the kiosk anymore because you've already cloned an exact replica by lining up the dots and maxing out the stat talents. So instead of hatching with the kiosk, you now breed the 2 parent pets together by yourself in the pet hatchery. With the resulting baby, you now can YOLO that to mega. If it fails while you're pet training it up, you delete it and hatch with the 2 parents again to try to YOLO the new baby to mega, and you do that repeatedly until it finally succeeds. Once it succeeds, you can then socket a pet duel to get the last damage talents, which is either giver or boon or dealer at ultra, and you get those by farming the spider monkeys in Imperia, or you can craft it by purchasing the recipe from the green clover dude in the Pet Pavilion pet shop. So you can see that I dual socketed giver when I crafted it. And my pet is a marshmallow pet because I was hatching with someone else with a marshmallow pet. It wasn't a Quetzal pet because I did not know of the Quetzal method at the time, which is why I'm teaching you guys the Quetzal method. Unfortunately, if you are an ice wizard, you cannot use the Quetzal method because the Quetzal cannot be put on the kiosk, and there is an alternative of a Vigor gargle pet, but people have been using that pet to manifest different talents that aren't even ice, so you will need to do method 2. Method 2 is when you have someone to hatch with consistently. The process is the same as method 1, where I explained how you will max out the stat numbers, line up the dots, and make 2 parents. In this example, I'll be using this crab pet I got from an event ages ago as an example of turning a shitty pet into a good pet. Once we train it to adult, these are the talents that it got. I'll be hatching with a core damage mighty pet, and I fast hatch the pet to train it immediately. Regardless of whose pet appearance you got, you will still train it up to adult because we are trying to get the stat numbers up as well as make progress with transferring over the talent pools. So obviously the pet fails with the stun card, but we don't really care about that because we haven't maxed out the stat numbers. Now we will be put on a 12 or 24 hour hatching cooldown, and to reset it, you can either buy a P9 potion in the crown shop or you craft one if you have hatching peppers, which you receive by lending your pet to other people or putting your successful pets in the pet kiosk. I have accumulated 200 hatching peppers, and I'm purchasing the recipe from the NPC in the hatchery and buying the black coal and peridot reagents from the NPC in Old Town. Then we go to a basic crafting station and craft the P9. Once we use the P9, we can hatch again and train the pet we got up to adult. It gets mighty but fails with a stun card, which again doesn't matter considering we still need to max out the stat numbers. The person that we are hatching with, which was my other account, doesn't have any more lens for the day, so we can't hatch anymore until the next day. In the meantime, I'll put the previous pets that we no longer need in our house so we don't get confused on which pet is our most recent pet. It is the next day and you can see that we are making progress with the stat numbers on Lord Harry, our newest pet. We train it up and it gets spellproof and mighty, which we don't care about because we haven't maxed out the numbers yet. I used the P9 I crafted yesterday to reset my timer and our new pet is Old Buttercup. It got the exact same talents as Lord Harry with spellproof and mighty, but we see that we finally reached 320 strength with mighty, but the numbers on the wheel need to be higher because it also affects damage. It is the next day and we can compare the dots to which they have actually all lined up in the process of maxing out the stat numbers. In this hatch, the wheel did not get higher, so it's the same as our previous pet. I still train it up though in hopes that we make progress on getting the right talents to succeed. However, at teen it fails with the Pierce talent, so I delete it, although I should have put it in the house. In the next hatch, the wheel did not go up again, but I'm hoping we get successful talents to remove the Pierce talent out of our pool. It got Fire Dealer and Painbringer, which is amazing, so we no longer need our previous one. I'm hatching again to still max out the stat numbers, and I finally got max stats of 255 strength and 260 will. It however got Boon and Pierce, so we need to keep hatching until our talents succeed. My next pet hatch, it got Mighty and Boon, which we don't want Boon until Mega, but I was becoming so impatient that I decided to make this our parent pet. But ideally for you don't want to make this as a parent pet. You want a parent pet to have 2 of these 4 talents because they are the hardest to get as a dual socket. But for me, I was like, fuck it, whatever, I'm making it the mother parent, and now we just need our father parent, so we hatch again. It fails with the Pierce talents, as you can see why I did the Boon pet as our mother parent, because clearly this pet is confused, keep getting the stupid ass Pierce talent. For our next hatch, it fails at teen with the Pierce talent again. Our next hatch though, it finally succeeds with Mighty and Pain Giver, so now we have a dad, and I name it Sir Boomer. With the 2 parent pets of Miss Boomer and Sir Boomer, we can now self-hatch with ourselves so that our hatches are cheaper, and with the baby, we YOLO it to Mega. At Epic, it failed with the Pierce talent, so we need to hatch our 2 parents again. Our next hatch was really good until it failed at Mega with Spell Defy. Our next hatch got both Giver and Boon, which is considered quote-unquote a fail because we don't know if we have to socket a difficult duel. The only way this pet succeeds is if it does not get Fire Dealer, so we need to manifest Mighty and Painbringer. So it is entirely RNG if this pet succeeds, so I'm just going to keep it as a backup in case we keep getting the stupid ass Pierce talents. So again, I'm going to make a baby because we don't know if the backup will fail, and the baby failed at teen with the Pierce talent, so yeah, I'm getting so annoyed. So I decided to train the backup and hope that we get the Mighty and Painbringer. It did get Mighty, so in order to make a backup of that pet now to save the progress in case it fails at Mega, I will hatch with a player so that our baby knows what talent it's supposed to get, because clearly it is getting confused when we keep hatching with the 2 parents and it gets a stupid ass Pierce talent. So with the baby, it got Mighty and Fire Dealer, which means we can Mega our previous pet without worrying about losing all our progress. It actually succeeds with the Painbringer, so we just need to train the pet to Ultra to be able to socket the Fire Dealer duel. Make sure that you have the strength and will bar filled up by feeding your pet the snacks or playing the game that adds more will or strength to get your 33% total damage. If you were wondering what our other backup pet would have gotten, these are the stats with Fire Giver socketed. It is still a good pet even though it quote-unquote failed with Spellproof, and if it failed with Armor Breaker, that Pierce talent, it would have still been a good pet anyways. The reason why we went through the lengthy process of removing the Armor Breaker talent was just to show the process of getting the 5 specific talents that you want, and if you don't get it, then you have to rehatch with the parents. I made these pets solely for this video. I literally have no use for them them, so make sure to give this video a like if it helped you understand pet training better. To conclude, the only time you use a kiosk is for the Quetzal method. However, you will notice a lot of people still using the kiosk because they are not able to do method 2 of finding a person to hatch with every single day. Personally, I was a huge kiosk user, but only because I accepted the fact that the pet will fail and I had an infinite amount of mega snacks, so I wasn't really losing anything. But if you don't have those resources, then you are losing a lot of gold, snacks, and your mental sanity when the kiosk keeps saying that the pet is unavailable. This is why I need you all to come together and share what pets you can lend to others. I will create a pet training channel in my Discord server to help facilitate this, where you can contact one another for pet lends. I'll put the Discord server in the description, and it will also notify you whenever I go live on Twitch if you're a fan of my content and want to support me.